Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. This is her talk show. My name is Sabrina Victoria. I am here with Noemi, and we are talking all about the healing power of art. Get comfortable as we explore the triumphs and challenges faced by women worldwide. And we are going to be offering insights and inspiration to fuel your personal and professional growth. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Listening live, welcome. We see you. If you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Noemi, a Cyprus-based artist, blends art therapy and positive psychology in her hand-sewn collages on canvas, paper, and digital forms. Using vintage materials, her work sparks creativity and spiritual renewal through storytelling and humor. I love that. With multicultural experiences enriching her artistry, she passionately explores creativity's role in daily life and the transformative power of repurposing materials, contributing to discussions on art and spirituality. So excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today, Sabrina. It's an honor.
Yes, and I love that you have some art in the background.
Yeah, I need to have that bit of exhibition going on. Yeah, in the background.
I love that. And we were kind of just briefly before we got started here, we're talking about where you source your materials. And I love that you just kind of take them from all over, just anywhere and everywhere.
Yes.
Anything can probably be made into repurposing.
Yes, I love repurposing. I think it's just so important, not just buy new things, but repurpose material, like just for our planet too. It's important. And there are so many interesting things that you can find in a thrift shop or a bookstore. Or yes, I love vintage. And yeah, so most of my collages are kind of vintage style too.
I love it. I know you do a mix of, therapy, healing, and art together. How did you end up in this role, in this niche? How did you pull this together?
So first of all, I have to tell you that I have this two sides of my business. This is my passion project. Art, I like being an artist, is my passion project. I'm a podcast booking agent by day, and that's what I do. That's podcastconnections.co is about. But I'm also an artist, and I was always a creative type, and I just enjoyed making art. And I went through a lot in the last couple of years, in the last 7 years, and art helped me to cope with stress, anxiety, trauma, grief. So that's how I discovered it's like, if it helps me, if it helped me, it could help other people as well. And so I completed a couple of courses on positive psychology and art therapy, and discovered podcasting and podcast guesting is my thing, my jam. So let's share that information. Let's share that knowledge on podcast, and how I can help other women or other people in the world through podcasting, and shared my knowledge about, feeling better by doing art.
I love it. So how did this come to be? How did you mesh it? What happened? One day you're just like...
woke up and it's like, yes, let's do it. I was painting, I was knitting, I was jewelry making since I was 8-10 years old. So I was always doing something. I hate to be bored, so I was never bored. And then I was expecting my son, my only son, in 2012. And I sat down, I had a small desk, and I started to make a collage. It was very colorful. It used old buttons. I used old textiles and everything on it, and pictures from magazines. And maybe that was my nesting process. I don't know what happened, but it just came to me. Maybe my subconscious was working. So I started to make collages, and I couldn't stop since then making new collages. It just gives me so much strength, happiness when I'm in the zone, when I'm making these pieces. And yeah, so that was 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago. Yeah.
I love it. What do you feel like, um, stepping into this creative side, what do you think this could do for others? Why do you recommend it?
It's very therapeutical. I mean, it's like you are in a meditative state when you do something. And not just talking about collaging, I'm talking about like coloring a mandala or anything, painting, knitting, crocheting. You can do anything. You don't have to be an artist, but you are in your zone. You feel so relaxed because it's the monotony really helps to feel relaxed, and just repetitive tasks. For example, sewing something. It can be boring for some people, but for me, it's relaxing. It's like coloring a mandala. It's the same effect on you. And also, I mean, art promotes relaxation and really, really express those emotions that you can't express in another way, or you can talk about it, but you can express it by painting, by drawing something. And it doesn't matter how disturbing your art is, it's still better than kept bottled up inside of you. You just have to get it out there. And this is a very safe space and medium to do that. And also, I mean, as I talked about, it's kind of a meditative practice. It promotes mindfulness. It really helps you to your heart rate can drop and your blood pressure can go down because you're doing something very relaxing. And I think that's just the beauty of it. And also, it improves your self-esteem because some people might think, I'm not an artist. I was never a creative type. I can't do anything like that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can start coloring. Yes, you can draw something, and it will help you with your self-esteem because it will give you some kind of accomplishment or pride that, like, oh yes, I completed this, painting. I completed this drawing. And for me, I really enjoy the journey when I'm making something. I think that's just so important because that's it's part of making art.
I love that. To those that are listening live right now, we already have a bunch of people watching live. So thanks so much for being here. But I know, and I'm sure you know this, there's a lot of people out there that insist that they are not creative, that they don't know how to draw. So in that sense, how does somebody know where to start, right? You go to the art store, there's so many things that you could
Yes.
start at. How does somebody know where to start?
First of all, if you don't want to do it alone, like creating art, you can join a community. There are like in-person art communities that you can join, and like it's a social activity. So you can be with other people and talk and create art. For me, it's personal. So I love creating art when I'm alone. And so the first step, I think, go to the store. But even if you don't even need to go to the store, because if you want to make a collage, like a cut and paste collage, it's like a paper on paper collage. You don't need anything else. You need a piece of paper. You need a pair of scissors, a couple of magazines, old newspapers, whatever, some printout from the internet, and glue. That's all you need. So you have all these ingredients at home, and you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be super creative to start getting started. Cut it out. Even my 3-year-old son could do it. And he made a collage when he was 3, and I loved it because it was so cool. So yeah, if he can do it, you can do it too. So cut it up, glue it together, and voila, that's a collage. I mean, you don't need any special investment or whatever to make this happen.
I love it. When you're talking about mindfulness, along with art, how does that correlate?
It's a kind of a meditative practice when you are in that zone. I mean, you individuals, while you're creating art, you become more aware of your thoughts and everything, like physical sensations in your life, what's happening around you, and it's an amazing feeling. And it's if you practice meditation, so you feel exactly the same way. I meditate every morning, and when I make a collage and I'm listening music while doing that, or listening to an audiobook, I have exactly the same type of vibes and feeling. I just feel so relaxed. So it's really interesting that I noticed that, like, wow, this is exactly the same by just creating art.
When you meditate, what does that look like? How do you do your meditations?
I do guided meditation. I bought a program, and I don't have much time to meditate, so I can sit around like for 1 or 2 hours. That would be ideal, maybe for some people, not for me. So I have this program. It's 12 minutes exactly, and it's a guided meditation with like background music and all kind of different sounds and sound waves. It's really interesting, and it really helps me. Like every morning, I do it very around between 7 and 8. I do that.
Did you say sound waves?
Sound waves. Yeah, different sound waves they use, like different frequencies. It's really interesting. It's kind of like a blend of white noise and whatnot included in that. So it's really, really interesting because I have this huge headset, and it makes it just wonderful, makes it really wonderful to listen to. So yeah, it's very like it's a specially put together meditation.
Where do you get that at?
Oh my gosh, I can tell you later. I can't even remember. There's this British guy who advertised it once, and I visited his website, and there are different levels for every month. So it's just like I'm on level 4 right now.
Wait, there's different levels for every month?
Yes, you step up your game in the meditative practice. I don't know what comes, I'm in level 4 because it's April, so level 5, and you have to do it like for 4 weeks for the one level, and then you get into the next level. So it's very interesting. It's very fascinating.
What is this supposed to do? Like, you bought the program, so what was he promising you?
No promise. It's just I needed something like a short meditative practice that I can use, and it was a very low investment, so it was like almost nothing, and I just wanted to stick to something. And if I stick to this and not just something from YouTube or from Spotify, so I don't know, I liked him and liked what he was doing there, and he has a very soothing voice while he's doing the meditation. So yeah, I just joined, and I think it's pretty cool, and it works for me. So
how long are they?
12 minutes. That's why I bought it, because it's just 12 minutes. That's all. And you also get some like background sounds or white noise as well. So there's like for every month, they are all different. Sometimes the sound of the sea or the waves, and sometimes, birds chirping in the background. And so it's very well put together.
Wow, this is so interesting. I would love to hear who that is.
I will send that to you after the interview.
Yeah, I don't meditate. I don't know. I feel like it's just a waste of time, but everyone talks about it. And like the music that I listen to meditative music when I sleep. So to go to bed,
right,
I turn on meditative music, like the kind of music you would hear at like a spa when you're getting a massage. Yeah, and I just go right to sleep. It's so nice. But yeah, I'm doing the whole time is either sleeping or thinking all the thoughts. I can't, which I'm sure everyone says that. But this sounds interesting, and I've heard of the sounds before, the frequency or whatever you're talking about.
Yes, it's really interesting. The different frequencies they use for the different levels. So yeah, I don't know more details about it, but I can send you more information for sure.
That's awesome. Wellness along with art. I know you talk about that a lot. How does art help individuals with their wellness, their overall health?
I mean, it can be part of your self-care routine, and part of your well-being routine. It's important to do something, to find something, to express those emotions that you can't express any other way. And when people talk about self-care and wellness, they always think about a spa or a massage or something like that. But it's actually not about that, because like a spa or a massage is not for everyone. I'm not a huge fan of that. And for me, like wellness is creating art, or I love playing on my handpan, on my hang, or my frame drum. I'm not a musician by any means. It's just another passion project of mine, but it's really soothing. It's really healing for me. So that's also like kind of part of my wellness routine. So I'm not into like pampering or going somewhere or just getting nice, but for me is everything happens inside and by with the help of art. So that's part of my wellness journey too, and it can be part of other people's wellness journey as well.
Awesome. Do you practice, I mean, you're talking about meditativeness, so I'm assuming you practice personal development. What are your thoughts as far as the importance of individuals practicing personal development?
I think it should everyone do that, like one stage of their lives, as early as possible. I think it should be part of like school curriculum instead of teaching very many useless things at school. Sorry about that. Yeah, but that's part of the school system. I think they should start it like very early. And I listen to a lot of podcast interviews, and because that's my job. And I listened to one, I think that was like last year, and they talk about that, like self-development and how important that could be even for a child, or even, I'm not talking about like 5 years old, but like I'm talking about teenagers, 14, 15-year-olds. I mean, that would be so amazing if they could incorporate that to the curriculum. I mean, that would be amazing because, and talking about like learning about leadership, and that's also because we always lead someone in life and at school, in class. So as early as possible, they should learn about this and self-development too. It's not just like woo things and being holistic approach. I'm spiritual because it's it's in fashion, but it should be included as early as possible in our lives, so we could save a lot of money on therapists and coaches. And if we would start that early enough.
I love that. What do you feel is the correlation between podcasting and art? Do you think there's some creativity in podcasting?
Absolutely. I mean, you need to be. And especially when it comes to storytelling, like telling your own story, you have to be creative and to tell your own story. And I think that's really important. The more creative you are, the better your story is. And you just have to practice it. And also for me, like being a creative type of person really helped me to be creative in business and to have some ideas that helped me to grow in business. I mean, before Podcast Connections, we had a online travel related business, an online travel business with my husband. It still exists, but because of the pandemic, it stopped for a while, and like everything else. And I was doing social media marketing, content creation, and that also craves creativity. And I think so I could use my creativity, like making good posts on LinkedIn or on social media, on Instagram. I love my Instagram group. You can find me on Instagram if you type my name in. It's an ad for me. And I'm like a content curator on Instagram, and I love art. I love design. So I share reshare all these amazing pictures that are already on Instagram, and I help people to open up their world, or share my podcast interviews there, or share my knowledge or stories or whatever I'm sharing on other platforms. And that's part of being creative. So I think like being an artist and being a businesswoman, I think that's a good combination in life, because it really helps each other.
Yeah. What's the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
Just keep going. That's my motto. I don't have any tattoos, but if I would have one, that would be on my wrist or somewhere. I mean, especially after like 2019 was like a very tough year. And the day of the recording actually is my late dad's birthday today. So it's always, it's hard to deal with stuff like that. And my dad passed away in 2019 because of cancer. Then I lost my grandma a couple of months later. So it was a lot of tragedy, trauma happening in the same year. And then lost our business to the pandemic. So it was a lot going on. And but I don't know, I was raised this way, or the support of my parents and the way they raised me and they supported me, that was always inside of me. But I can never give it up. I have to keep going no matter what happens. I have a son to look after. I have a grieving mom to look after. I have my business to restart it from scratch. So for me, it was just keep going. There was no other option. Although I was grieving, I was having panic attacks. I pulled it through, and I just kept going.
That's good. What does success mean to you?
Oh my gosh, I had the same question in another podcast, and I love that question. It's being happy for me, because and being healthy and happy, because without those two things, the rest doesn't really matter anymore. And I learned that the hard way, because of like seeing my dad, this strong man, just becoming so vulnerable and so sick because of cancer. And I noticed that, like, okay, so it doesn't really matter how much money we got in the bank, or how much, what car we drive, or what beautiful villa we live in. If we don't have our health, then there's nothing really matters anymore. Plus happiness, I mean, that's part of, being content.
Definitely. I would agree with that for sure. I think one of the biggest things that I hear when it comes to creativity is obviously what you already notated, that I'm not good enough, or I don't know how to do it, or all the things that go along with that. When it comes to your art, who is your art for? Because I think sometimes that's it. It's like, what's the point of making art if I'm not selling the art? Kind of seems like a waste of time, So who is your art for? Is your art for customers? Is your art for you?
It's for me. I mean, the ones I'm making right now, it's for me, because my plan is to make a exhibition first, like a solo exhibition. That's my plan, and I would love to share the word, because these collages are part of me, part of my family, and so these old postcards and old photographs are from my family's history. So it's like I'm writing a journal or something like that, but I'm just sewing these memories together and putting them together on canvas, and I want to show it to the world. And this is for me. I think for artists, that's, we have to understand that, like, no, we don't have to please the audience. It's not for them, it's for us, because that's how we express ourselves. And I know there's a lot of artists there who want to sell their art, and that's absolutely fine. And for me, it's a passion project. And if someone hires me and maybe sends me, but that's my idea, is that like someone sends me like a little package, and it's like, oh, Noemi, come on, can you please make a collage of these memories out of it? And like, yeah, that would be so cool. I would love that. And but I wouldn't sell those ones that, for example, you can see behind me, because those are part of my life and my story. That's why I put them on a canvas. But yeah, I think I just read this great quote, and I can't quote it exactly on Instagram, but it was so amazing that you really have to create art for yourself and not for the public, and not to please everyone, because art is not about that.
This is so interesting. Wait, so you have thought of an idea, not that it's in fruition, but you have thought of an idea of somebody sending you just a bunch of stuff, and then you put it together in a collage.
Yes, I actually had this idea, like, I think maybe 5-6 years ago already, but then I got so busy with business. But I would love to, like, and the idea was that, like, sewing your memories together, and then and that you can give it as a gift to someone else. So this is, my business mind is always working and always coming up with different ideas. So yeah, that's kind of a business idea, and I would love to do that for someone. And like, if you do, like, I can do it in a commission or something, I would happy to do that. Like, send me stuff to Cyprus, I sew it for you, and then I ship it back, and there you go. You can give it away as a gift. Maybe I just discovered a whole new brilliant business idea on the shows.
When you talk about sewing, are you sewing fabric and paper?
Yes, everything. Like, you can see that, like, I use yarn, lace, buttons, textile, postcards, like hard paper postcards, or photographs, old photographs. So they are very delicate. So you have to be really careful not to destroy, for example, an old photograph by, the way you sew it. Like, everything is by hand. So it's very time consuming, and it is very time consuming. And sometimes, your fingers and hands hurt, because it's a physical thing to do.
Where do you get your frames from? Is that from Thrifting?
Oh, it's just like these are like very like you can go to a craft store, an art store, and you can buy not frames, but you can just a canvas, like a white plain canvas that
Oh,
usually painters buy for, painting. And I just use it for sewing. So yeah, I just came up with this, and yeah.
I love that. Very, very cool. So, creative by nights, podcast finder by day. Is that how that works?
Right now, yes. I would love to push it, a bit more to the creative side and to the art side and do more of it. When I have time in the evening or when I have time during the weekends, I focus on my collages. But yeah, right now it's like kind of, I would say 70-30% business and artist at this
So
time.
tell us about the podcasting.
The podcasting is I run a podcast booking agency called Podcast Connections, and we help entrepreneurs and business owners to get on quality podcast shows, help them to share their knowledge and share their story on different podcasts. So that's what we do basically. We are like matchmakers in the podcasting world. We have a guest and you have a podcast and we match them. Yeah.
I love it. Where can people find you?
People can find me on my website that they can see on the screen, podcastconnections.co, and you can connect with me. Also, I'm always on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you type my name in, Noemi Beres, with a small mic next to my name, I will come up there.
I love that. What are some big dreams you have for your business?
Right now, I'm living my big dream at the moment because I'm scaling the business and been working with a business coach since last September. And it was a very interesting journey and with a lot of work involved. But now I can see the result, and we have a bigger team that we work with, new team members from South America, South Africa, and from Asia. So it's fun to work together with amazing and all ladies, so all female, like assistants that we work together with. And yeah, and it's kind of was the dream that to work more on the business rather than in the business. And I think that's a really important goal. I still haven't reached that goal like fully yet, but I'm on the right path, and I know that.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on all of
Thank
that.
you.
Who should be reaching out to you? Who do you help?
I help anyone who's interested doing podcast guesting, but mostly if you have an established business and if you want to get your message out there, if you're an author and if you wrote a book and if you want to promote it on podcast, that's a absolutely great way to do it. And I also love working with holistic coaches, healers, and yeah, I just love the woo part of their personality. And yeah, we work with a lot of podcasts, holistic podcasts. So yeah, I would love working with them too.
Fantastic. Well, I love it. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
Yes, please make art and yeah, take time for your art and don't think this is I don't have time for art. It's art is luxury and it's not a necessity. It's not. It will help you to heal. It will help you to to cope with stress, trauma, anxiety, whatever problem you're having. It's just so important in our lives. And just grab a paper and a pen and start drawing.
It's beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. So appreciate it. For those of you that resonated with Noemi and all the goodness that she shared, make sure to check her out at podcastconnections.co or LinkedIn under her name. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Make sure you follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other every step of the way. Until next time, do something